Hey there. Canadian Thanksgiving. It's that time again. Time for cozy gatherings.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, sounds like maybe you're adding a little what if to the mix. Huh?
Yeah.
With COVID cases ticking back up.
Yeah.
I mean, who can blame you? Especially when everybody seems to have a different take on the whole thing.
Right.
It's a lot to weigh, even without Aunt Carol's famous double dipping.
Absolutely.
But that's why we're here. You sent over a really interesting collection of stuff, news articles, a personal note, even a poem, all looking at this Thanksgiving puzzle from different angles. So let's see if we can help you sort through it all and feel a little more confident about your approach, whatever that ends up being.
Sometimes a good mix of perspectives is exactly what you need to get a little bit more clarity, wouldn't you say?
100%. So to kick things off, you shared this article from the Tyee as COVID surges. Talk about a headline to grab your attention. And it doesn't let up.
Yeah.
The article really drives home that what we're seeing in the news is just a sliver of the real picture. Experts are saying actual infection rates could be 10 times higher than what's being reported.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's a striking example of how easily our perception of risk can be influenced by what gets the spotlight, wouldn't you agree?
totally. It's like out of sight, out of mind. But this article is all about bringing those hidden risks front and center. One of the things that really jumped out at me was this whole discussion of long COVID and the impact it can have on, get this, your brain.
Yes, and I think that's one of the most concerning aspects that often gets overlooked. The article cites some really sobering research about how even a mild case can lead to cognitive decline in some individuals. Dr. Al Ali's work on this topic is quite eye-opening, and it directly relates to those concerns you mentioned in your note.
Right. And they weren't kidding about the shrinking the brain thing either. Apparently, in some cases, there's actual physical evidence of brain volume reduction after a COVID infection, which, let's be honest, that's the kind of thing that makes you stop and think twice.
Right.
Our brains are basically who we are, right?
Yeah.
Memory, focus, decision-making,
Yeah.
all that good stuff that makes life well life. Yet to think that even a mild case could have long-term impacts on that, it definitely adds a whole other layer to this decision-making process.
It really does. And it's not just about individual risk tolerance either. You mentioned in your note you have a family member who's dealing with some health challenges. That adds another layer of complexity to your Thanksgiving plans, right?
And on that note, this idea of immunity roulette that the article keeps coming back to,
Yeah.
every time you get infected, it's like rolling the dice with your long-term health. That's got to weigh on a person, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to make responsible choices for yourself and the people you care about.
It's a very potent metaphor. And it highlights the fact that we're still learning about the long-term consequences of this virus. What might seem like a minor inconvenience now could have ripple effects down the line. And when you add in the fact that other infections like whooping cough are also on the rise, potentially linked to COVID's impact on our immune systems, well, it makes you think twice about those let's just get back to normal arguments.
It really does.
Yeah.
So how do we take all of this, the science, the statistics, the long view, and apply it to a very specific situation? Because you, dear listener, are grappling with a real-life Thanksgiving gathering, not just a theoretical debate.
Yeah.
You mentioned in your note that your goal is to remain COVID-free, and honestly, given everything we're learning, that's a completely valid goal.
Absolutely. It
Okay.
is. And it speaks to a desire for proactive health management, which I always find commendable. It's about taking control where you can, even in the face of uncertainty.
Exactly. But how do you balance that with the very real pull of family tradition, the joy of being together, especially when, as you pointed out, not everyone in your circle is on the same page about risk?
That's where those honest, sometimes difficult conversations come in, and where having access to the most accurate information can make a world of difference.
Speaking of accurate information, can we talk about those mitigation strategies you mentioned in your note? You are not messing around. CR boxes, far UVC lighting. You've clearly been doing your research. Tell me, does this mean you've got your Thanksgiving engineering hat on this year?
It sounds like they're looking at every possible angle, which is smart. And those are all excellent tools to have in your arsenal. They can significantly reduce viral transmission, especially when used in combination.
Right. It's about layering those defenses.
Hmm.
But you also brought up something really important, rapid tests.
Yeah.
They become the go-to for so many people. But as you pointed out, they can have a pretty high false negative rate,
Yeah.
especially in the early stages of an infection. So someone could be infectious, test negative, and unknowingly bring the virus to the Thanksgiving table. Yikes.
It's true, and I think that highlights a broader point about navigating this pandemic. We can't rely on any single solution, any one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. It's about thinking critically, assessing risks, and making informed decisions based on your own individual circumstances and comfort levels. And that can be tough, especially when you're dealing with family dynamics and differing opinions. It's like we're all amateur jugglers these days, tossing around public health guidelines, personal risk assessments, family expectations, trying not to drop anything in the process.
And let's be honest, some days those juggling pins feel a lot heavier than others, you know? It's emotionally taxing to constantly weigh those competing priorities, especially when it feels like the right decision keeps shifting.
Totally. But here's the thing, you're not alone in feeling that way. We're all trying to navigate this new terrain where the old rules don't quite apply anymore.
Mm.
And the fact that you're listening to this, that you're actively seeking out information and engaging in these tough conversations, it's a testament to how much you care. Not just about your own well-being, but about the well-being of those around you.
Absolutely. And knowledge is empowering. The more we understand about the virus, the long-term risks, and the effectiveness of various mitigation strategies, the better equipped we are to make informed choices that align with our values and priorities.
Exactly. You're taking ownership of your health, and that's something to be celebrated. And you've even given us a few things to think about. Remember earlier when we were talking about that Tai E article? It ended on such an interesting note, challenging us to imagine what a truly preventative public health approach to COVID could look like.
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? What if instead of reacting to each surge, we prioritized creating environments that minimize transmission in the first place? How would that change our thinking about gatherings, about indoor spaces, about how we protect the most vulnerable members of our communities?
Right. It's like shifting from a mindset of damage control to one of proactive prevention. And that feels especially relevant as we head into Thanksgiving, a time when so many of us are gathering indoors.
It makes you wonder, could this be the year we start new traditions, ones that prioritize both connection and well-being?
Now, there's a thought. It's a lot to unpack, and we could probably chat about it for hours. But for now, we'll leave you with this. Whatever decision you make about your Thanksgiving gathering, trust your gut. Trust the research you've done, and know that there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Well said. And remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. We'd love to hear from you. How are you approaching Thanksgiving this year? What solutions have you come up with? Share your thoughts and experiences, because we're all learning from each other as we go.
Absolutely. Thanks for diving in with us. Happy Thanksgiving.
Autumn leaves are falling, pumpkin pies on the sill. 4 years in, some think the danger's nil. 1 in 38's infected, clear as can be, but denial's the fashion. Blind as can be, CR boxes worrying, UVC let it glow. It's just a cold, they say, but science says no. Masks in the drawer, precautions ignored. The virus keeps spreading, can't be implored. Oh, Canadian Thanksgiving, you're a paradox feast. Some see a harmless gathering, others see a beast. Facts are on the table, but some won't digest. Gotta keep my wits sharp, put safety to the test. Virtual hugs feel hollow, screens can't replace touch. But long COVID's no joke, it can cost so much. Friends say join us, we've had it before. But each round with the virus opens a new door. Science sings a clear tune, deaf ears all around. Natural immunity, they claim on shaky ground. New vaccines are coming, hope on the horizon. Till then, this bird's not flying into the lion's den. Oh, Canadian Thanksgiving, you're a paradox feast. Some see a harmless gathering, others see a beast. Facts are on the table, but some won't digest. Gotta keep my wits sharp, put safety to the test. So I'm cooking solo while others convene. They toast to normalcy, I toast to routine of staying safe and sound, though it feels a bit mean. Next year might be different, but for now it's just me and my screen.